Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Let's see. Where is my button for this? There it is. Haha. So we're doing this slightly differently. I've been doing reaction videos for a bit to Simon and Mark and others solving my puzzles. And it originally started out of, well, I'm going to watch it anyway, so I might as well watch it on stream because that makes it more fun. But at some point, Tristan and I were talking about it, and we realized it might make it a little bit less fun for you, because I get a lot of people telling me that they were sad they missed it or whatever. And so I think we're going to try, and we'll see how people like it. But I think we're going to try doing it like a day later, so that if someone wants to see the reaction video and wants to come participate in it, they will. Now, this requires some self-control on my part, which I think I now can muster. There's a long period where, like, the idea of waiting more than a second longer than I needed to watch Simon or Mark solve one of my puzzles was not really plausible. I think now I can manage to wait. So many of you may have watched this solve already. I have not seen this solve yet. So if you are curious, so I'm sort of trying to keep that. So I'm trying to sort of give you all the benefits of me not having seen it, but also you can have watched it beforehand if you want, or you can know, like I saw Carabet saying that they never get to see them on time, and so now you get to. So we're going to try it. All right, so this is a puzzle I should note is quite old. I think it is literally a year old. So I do actually, despite it being a year old, I do remember at least some pieces about it. And I remember my one sort of like, I didn't really like how that part worked part of this puzzle more than most. So we'll see we'll see how it goes. But with that said, let's watch Simon solve this. Let us wish happy birthday to all the people, or happy belated birthday to all the people.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I realised today that I haven't done a zetamath puzzle for some time, and I thought, well, I've got to put that right. So I had a look at basically we have a long list of puzzles that have been passed by the testers, and this one has been recommended. It's called Alarm, and it's by the great man himself, and I very much like the look of the grid, although I am slightly concerned it involves between lines, which I never feel between lines and my brain are a marriage made in heaven. But this is what I'm going to be having a go at for you today. It's got 4 stars.
I don't know that there's a lot of people who aren't tall cat who find between lines to be an intuitive constraint. But this does have the signature tall cat lines in it, the signature tall cat between lines shape in it. You will see.
Stars out of 5 for difficulty, and I say alarm clock represented in the grid. Now, zetamath, you mustn't let me down today, because I am trying this this puzzle rather later than I'd meant to. It's already dark outside. Life has got in the way of recording Sudoku videos today, so I'm trying this a bit too late for comfort.
Oh no!
So I better be able to solve it, or naughty zetamath
this one I think this one did stump quite a few people. We'll see if Simon finds it.
I'll read you the rules of the puzzle in a moment or two's time.
But this is definitely one where some people got it and were like, "Oh, that's great," and some people were like, "Oh, I bashed this in this horrendous way. Is this what you intended?" And I had to be like, "Oh God, no." Also, I did read the comments to the video, and I saw that in the comments, a lot of people who attempted it said that they attempted to solve the puzzle using set, which, if you know me very well, you will probably suspect this puzzle does not involve set. I'll be intrigued to see if Simon manages to use set somehow in his solve. I don't think the grid looks particularly like set to my eye, but maybe no grid looks to me like it should be a set puzzle.
I've got a few things I'd like to talk about first. If this video goes out on time at 8:30 UK time, then we are streaming in an hour and a half. We're going to be having a look at more Tametsi. Let me find Tametsi, my picture of Tametsi. There we go.
Tametsi is very cute. If you've not played Tametsi, I recommend it.
Yeah, I'll try and remember to put a link on the screen. It's sort of a Hex Cells variant. It's a lot of fun, and there will be wine clicks aplenty, I've no doubt. Next, I mentioned this yesterday, but we're very excited. Friday, I think, is the day that we are going to be releasing our...
Yeah, Jim says, I imagine it's fun to see ways people solve your puzzle. Definitely. And depending on the solver, it can either be very similar to what I intended, or it can be very off. I'd say with Simon, it's probably 90-10. Simon usually follows my intended solve path almost exactly. And then 10% of the time does something way off the wall. But with other solvers, it's closer maybe to like 50-50 or something, whether they'll do something unexpected. Simon has a very similar sort of aesthetic sense to me of what steps feel good and what steps don't feel good. Probably because I learned my sense of what to like and what not to like in Sudoku puzzles from watching Simon. And so Simon tends to disregard like a weird look ahead that he happens to see, and then tends to dig deeper. So he tends to find the step that I really intended eventually.
Brand new Fog of War app. So Fog of War Sudokus by some of the great and the good of the Sudoku community, setters like Fistamafel and James Sinclair and Codec and loads of others as well. I'm going to miss out Dorlier, Marty Sears, Peddling Pianist, Peter Venus, Florian Wortman. I'm trying to look for a list that I know I made yesterday. I can't. Mr. Menace, I think, Half-Baked Lunatic, people like that. It's a really fabulous set of puzzles. And if you enjoy Fog of War Sudoku, and don't we all, then look out for that. It's coming on all platforms on Friday is the current thought.
I've still never set a Fog of War puzzle.
If you follow us on Twitter at Cryptic Cracking, I will release the links as and when I get them. Other than that, over on Patreon, we have got our Sudoku Hunt competition running for the month. Chance to make a Sudoku video with me if you win. You probably don't want to do that. There'll be gaming keys if you don't like that. But look, this is the teaser for the pack. Fabulous puzzles in that. Quite a lot to do, mind you. 16 puzzles have to be solved if you want to be in with a chance of winning the prize. But plenty of time to do that. The competition closes on the 20th. And some birthdays. Let's start with Emma. Emma, it's your birthday today. I know this because your partner Albert wrote to us and told me that you're making pistachio ice cream this evening.
That sounds good.
And, well, all I will tell you is that that's better than what you made poor Emma last year, which was the chocolate chip list cookies. There is no such thing as a chocolate chip list cookie. Dear. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the pistachio ice cream. That is acceptable. It's not quite as good as chocolate cake, but it is acceptable. Morgan and Phil, I will congratulate you on a year of marriage. I don't know if today is the exact date of your wedding anniversary, but it might be. I've not tried the puzzle that you sent in, Morgan. I did send it to the test.
Yeah, it's a real shame, David, that I don't usually get to do the CTC Patreon packs because they're fun, but I of course can't do them on stream because that would sort of defeat the purpose of them being like Patreon exclusives for Cracking the Cryptic people. But very often I'm like, wow, that sounds cool. I'd love to do that. But alas. And then I do some solving off stream, but usually the things I solve off stream are things that I specifically think would not stream well. So yeah, so it's just something where it's like, yeah, I just don't really get to do them, even though they do sound super cool.
Testers though, so you never know.
I used to
Phil,
do them before I streamed.
Watch every day, so thank you for watching, and well, congratulations. Definitely an excuse for some cake. And then we'll turn our attention to Wilmington, North Carolina, where Eric, it's your birthday today. And Eric, you noted that you share your birthday with the composer Jean-Philippe Sousa, who is a great composer of marches. And many of you will know Jean-Philippe Sousa's marches, even if you don't know that you know them, because those of you who are familiar with Monty Python's Flying Circus will know that the theme tune, well, will probably recognise the theme tune. That is called the Liberty Bell March. I saw the Liberty Bell in the summer in Philadelphia. And that is by Jean-Philippe Sousa. But that's
I
all
have
by the
seen the
by,
Liberty
because the
Bell.
most important thing is not Jean-Philippe Sousa's birthday, it is Eric's birthday. Eric, I hope you have an absolutely brilliant one today, with, of course, a large slice of chocolate cake. And that is all the news. So let us turn, or I will turn my attention to trying to solve Alarm by Zetamath. Let's read what the great man has in store for us. These are the rules as follows. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. And that means we've got to put the digits 1 to 9, once each in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Each thick grey line can be divided into one or more non-overlapping segments. Each segment contains digits that sum to 10. Okay, so these are 10 lines. So, in fact, we've only got 3. 1, 2, 3.
When I started setting this, so I definitely started setting this with the idea that I was just going to make a between line 10 line puzzle. That was the whole idea. And I sort of figured out like the thing that I liked with the sort of the beginning, where it's sort of like the 2 10 lines at the top and the between line at the top. And I liked that. And I kept trying to figure out like, okay, how do I add like a 10 line or a between line to this that sort of like naturally sort of extends it. And as you can see, sort of it ended up being that sort of like I added, well, I guess there aren't really that many clues in the grid, I suppose, but eventually it ended up being the case that I really felt like I needed to use something else. So I used, in addition to those, 2 Renbon, which might look useful, but the 2 Renbon are sort of designed to be completely useless until near the end of the puzzle, because they each cross over 3 boxes, which makes it very difficult to use them in any meaningful way, but they sort of resolve it together with the black dot. And of course, you know that I love black dots, especially one single black dot. Although I will say for my preferences, I tend to like it if the single black dot's a little off to the side. This one's a little too on center, but anyway, this was an adventure to sort of try and resolve. But that was the original idea. It was like, okay, it's just going to be a bunch of 10 lines in between lines. But that turned out sort of, I got stuck trying to do it that way.
It's got an example. It says, e.g., 513173 is a valid fill for a length 6 line because it can be broken up into 5131 and 73, each of which sums to 10. Yes, that's clearly true. Digits on a purple line form a set of non-repeating consecutive digits. These digits can appear in any order. So that's normal Renban rules. So if we worked out that square there was a 1, then you would know that this line has to contain the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because the digits on the line have to be consecutive and non-repeating. If it contained a 9, they'd have to be 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5, etc. Now, the next
I do love
rule
my Renbon.
Says digits are...
For those who do not know, my favorite constraints in Sudoku are Renbon and black dots. Those are the 2 that sort of get my S tier ranking. So it is maybe not surprising that I snuck them in here somehow.
Thin grey line. Oh, this is the between line rule. Digits along a thin grey line connecting 2 circles must have values between the digits in the circles. So you can see that the between lines here have been definitely rendered to produce the sort of visual effect of the alarm clock. And there's an example. It says, e.g., if the 2 circles at a line's end contain 3 and 8, let's have a go at that. So 3 and 8, then digits on the line itself must be selected from 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, the digits between the 3 and the 8. So, or values between the 3 and the 8. So hopefully that's clear. Digits separated by a black dot have a 1 to 2 ratio, meaning one digit is exactly double the other. So if this square here was a 2, this square here would either be 4 to be double 2 or 1 because 2 is double 1. And not all dots are necessarily given. Now, that's sometimes included in rule sets, and that's just to
it would be hilarious with this grid. No one would expect it if they were reading the rules to this puzzle and then it said all black dots are given. Excuse me, still getting over a cold a little bit.
Have to be a black dot between such relationships in this puzzle. Obviously, there could have been a black dot between these two digits because 4 is double 2, but there doesn't have to be. So the only thing we really know from a black dot perspective is that domino has digits with the 1 to 2 ratio relationship, and they are all the rules. So you know the rules, and so do I.
Inevitably, a bunch of people will sort of end up debating like whether or not it is intrinsically bad setting to have a single black dot in a puzzle. I don't know if I can say whether I think it's good setting or bad setting, but I can say that it is a thing that I stylistically greatly enjoy doing, to have a single black dot. There are, I don't know, probably 5 or more puzzles I have that have a single black dot in them. It is a fairly common, it's not at all something I think every puzzle needs, but it is something I find very useful for sort of disambiguating stuff at the end in a satisfying way.
The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I mean, the first and most obvious thing to say here is that is a 5-cell Renban, and that 5-cell Renban must contain a 5, because if you think about...
Laura asks if saying all black dots are given would break the puzzle for this one. I don't have the solved grid in front of me, but it would shock me if it turned out that in the solved grid there are no black dots that are missing. So I would guess that it does, but I don't 100% know, but I suspect it would.
The digits 1 to 9, if you're going to cut a set of 5 consecutive digits, even if you start with the lowest digit, you'll reach 5, and if you start with the highest digit and count downwards, you'll reach 5. So there is definitely a 5 in here. But, I mean, the geometry of that line doesn't look terribly propitious to me. Well, I mean, what generic things can we say about between lines? The only thing... In fact, it is really the only thing I know about between lines. A bit like thermometers. I know one secret of thermometers, and I know one secret of between lines. So on between lines, you can't put 1s and 9s on the line. That's something.
That is the intended first thing for you to see.
Yes. Okay. So that immediately makes me wonder about where we're putting 1 and 9 in row 1. But just to explain that point, if you put a 1 or a 9 on a between line, let's put 1 on it, then one of these digits would have to be a 0 to frame or have a value beneath the value we've put on the line. Obviously, we put a 9 on the line, you've got to put a 10 or higher in one of these squares, and they aren't Sudoku digits. So 1s and 9s have to be not on lines. And these are 10 lines, aren't they? So if we have 9 in one of these squares or one of these squares, it will have to go with a 1 in a domino. Yeah, okay, so that is not actually desperately easy to do, is it? In fact, that is very interesting. Let's talk about secrets of 10 lines, because there aren't many, but I do know that this sort of pattern can only be broken up into 2 segments that add up to 10. It can't be 3 segments, because although in theory you could make 5 different Sudoku digits add up to 30, that is totally possible. You could make 4 different digits add up to 30 if they were 6, 7, 8 and 9. But the minimum length of a 10 sum is 2 cells. Because we can't just write 10 into any one of these cells. So if we did say make that a domino and said that adds to 10, and then we tried to make the line overall add up to 30, we'd have to have another domino that adds up to 10, and then this cell, there's not enough space for it to be 2 digits that sum to 10, so you can't do it.
10 lines are my babies, so I love them and use them whenever I can. I'm happy to see them appear. They've started appearing more and more often in like other LMD puzzles or whatever. So I'm glad that they have caught on a bit. But they're definitely my favorite of the things I've created.
So these two lines here, well, this line has to be one. Using that sort of that deduction, it's not really a deduction, but that point, we can't split that line up into two different segments, each of which sum to 10. So this is either a two like that and a 3 like that, or the other way round, and it's 2 like that and 3 like that. And that is true also for this. But what I want to go back to thinking about 9 actually in the top row, because 9, if we think about the segment that it's on the 10 line, it's either here or here. Now, could you put 9 in the corner? Nobody puts 9 in the corner. You can't do it, not in this puzzle anyway, because the 9 will be attached to a 1 to make a segment that adds up to 10. And you can see that wherever you put the 1, you'll leave behind a cell which is not capable of being part of a 10 sum.
Okay, I will reveal here. So the deduction Simon is about to make is that one of these two dominoes is 1, 9. And I will say one of my pet peeves in puzzles is when you have something like this where there's a symmetry break and you realize it, but you don't know which side it's on. And in this puzzle, I had a bear of a time disambiguating it as early as possible without doing something that then gave away so that you didn't have to think about the thing at all that I wanted. So I tried a billion different things trying to figure out, okay, exactly how can I break this symmetry as soon as possible? And I ended up settling instead on breaking it in a way that was as satisfying as possible. But it requires quite a lot more thinking than I would usually want to go into a disambiguating left from right in a puzzle.
So I think what that means, well, yeah, this is definitely interesting, because what that means, I don't know how we're going to tell which way round this goes, but it means either this domino must add up to 10, because the 9, what that means is the 9 is going somewhere near the end of the line, doesn't it? So the 9 is either in this domino and it's a 9-1 pair adding to 10, or it's in this domino and it's a 9-1 pair adding to 10.
In my opinion, you should only leave it as a coloring exercise until the very end if your name is 2 to 10th. If your name isn't 2 to 10th, I think you should not leave the puzzle as a coloring exercise until the end. There's a couple others in there. Crusader has done it quite successfully. There's been a handful, but I'd say most of the time, I think you should not. Modern Romance, I would say, is like that's different. Modern Romance gets a pass. But yeah, that is sort of a coloring puzzle. You're right. And I do still owe a Modern Romance 2, but someday.
10 here. Nothing else is possible.
Yeah, I should invite Simon on stream someday. I've never actually invited him
to one side in the corner, because
but
it's the same problem as if you put.
If you're watching this, Simon, and you want to come do a video with me when I react to one of your solves, I would be ecstatic. So reach out.
The 9 in the corner.
I do know Simon watches
cell,
these sometimes.
which cannot, in and of itself, add up to 10. Now, the other thought that then occurs to me is that whichever side this is on, let me just think about this for a moment, because I really would rather tell you which side it's on. There may be an obvious reason. There's a lot of symmetry, though, isn't there? The symmetry in this puzzle is, when I say symmetry, I mean symmetry around the sort of centre of the grid, down the middle of column 5. If you fold the grid over, an awful lot of these between lines would just marry up. The rem bands break the symmetry, the dot doesn't. That breaks the symmetry, and this breaks the symmetry. So, what I'm interested in is what is it about the internal logic of the puzzle that's going to throw the 1-9 pair to this side or to this side? Because one of the symmetry breaking clues must determine that. That's actually extremely difficult to understand. I don't see how to do that at all. So I'm going to tell you the other thing I thought about, which is that if this was a 1-9 pair, for example, how would this 10 sum be made up? It's a 3-cell 10 sum that doesn't involve a 1. So it would have to be 2, 3, 5. That's the only way of making 3 different digits add up to 10. If you can't use a 1. So on one side of the puzzle, there is a 2, 3, 5 triple pointing down at another between line.
Thank you, Char Lampos.
That then couldn't contain 2, 3, or
Bless
5.
you, Tristan.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's going on here? I have a horrible feeling I've missed something very obvious. Okay, this is what I'm now thinking about. I'm wondering whether this is what I was meant to do at the start. What I'm now thinking about... Well, what I was thinking about was this digit, actually. Because I suppose this is the corollary of my secret about between lines. You can't put a I mean, this is such a truism. I apologise for stating truisms, but you can't put the digit in a circle. Whatever this digit is, it can't go on its own between line, because by the rules of between lines. So that digit is one of those digits. Well, we don't know if it's this way round, but that is going to be true either way, isn't it? But what I mean by that is this orange digit in the box above can't go in its own column, can't go on its own between lines, so is in one of those 3 squares. So by Sudoku is in one of those 3 squares. That is true. So what that means is if this side had 1, 9 here and 2, 3, 5 here, this would be a 2, 3 or a 5. That would be a jolly big digit. Probably would be a big digit, actually. Just Sudoku-wise, that would be 4, 6, 7 or 8. 4, 6, 7 or 8. This would be 2, 3 or 5. And there would have to be three differences. Actually, I'm going to put that. Just let me think about that for a second. 4, 6, 7, 8 here. 2, 3, 5 here. And this obviously is interchangeable. If this pattern was on the right-hand side of the grid, the symmetry is identical. So this would be the case on the other side. So I'm going to claim this could never be a 5. That must be true. If this is a 5... we need 3 digits between this 5 and whatever we put in that square. There aren't 3.
True.
So this would be a 2 or a 3, and this wouldn't be a 4. 2. It's actually very...
I did end up eventually wishing, after watching several people solve this puzzle, that I had mirrored the grid 180 degrees across the center. Because the natural thing for you to do is fill in this on this side, and it's on this side that it breaks, if I recall correctly. There's a 50, maybe there's a 30% chance that I actually did mirror it after I saw that, and that it actually does break on the other side, but I should have made it so that it broke on the side where it was more likely that you would start sort of thinking about what it looked like.
Very constrained, isn't it? It's very constrained, because this These digits... Yeah, in fact, what are these digits? These would have to be from 4. These would have to be 4, 6, and 7, wouldn't they? Oh, no, they could... No, they would have to be 4, 6, and 7, I think. I think that would have to be an 8. So on one side of the grid, we've got an 8 in one of... Yeah, this is zetamath. This is zetamath. So on one side of the grid, you've got an 8 in one of these squares, I'm going to claim. You've got 4, 6, 7 on the line. That doesn't tell you what this digit is, though. That could still be 2 or 3, which is very strange.
Zetamathy. I am happy to have been
and
ejectified.
189 live at the bottom of the grid. Oh, good grief. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, I've done this right, but by serendipity rather than...
Yeah.
Okay, so this is correct, actually. I.e., this is what's happening on the left-hand side of the grid. This is beautiful. Right. That it's to do with between lines. Oh, no, it's to do with 10 lines that add up to 10. 10 lines that add up to 10. It's to do with 10 lines that add up to 10. No, but it's to do with that 10 line.
Yep.
Okay, so we have to... Let me show you. Let's ignore what I've done on the right-hand side of the grid, and let's imagine that this was wrong, and we had to put the 1, 9 here. Now, watch this, because it's very pretty. Now, the crucial thing... in fact, this is... I can distill this down to be much more beautiful. Right, this is brilliant. Okay, the question I should have asked immediately is, okay... If you do have that configuration, where is the 1 in column 9? Or column 1, but where's the 1? I said at the very start, you can't put 1 on a between line. So you have to put a 1 right at the bottom of the column. Now what does that do to that 3-cell segment that has to add up to 10? Well, we've already looked at it. We know if you have a 3-cell segment that doesn't contain a 1, it has to be...
That is
2,
one of my
3,
favorite
and
facts.
5.
I use that
well,
fact a lot.
By the logic of these lines, which actually applies throughout the grid, we know that digit there can't go on its own line, is in one of those. It's exactly the same as here. So it is a 2, 3, or a 5 by Sudoku. So if 2, 3, and 5 cannot be in that square, you can't do this on this side of the grid. There is nothing to put in this square that's valid. That's beautiful. That is just beautiful.
Yeah, that is.
So this is
very similar to how I thought about it. I thought about it only a touch differently, which is I thought of it as, okay, if this is a 3-cell sum to 10 and that's a 3-cell sum to 10, can they possibly be the same 3-cell sum to 10? And the answer is no, they can't, because then this digit gets stranded and completely ruled out of column 9. So they're different sums to 10, and if they're different sums to 10, then that means you can't possibly put a 1 there because one of them contains a 1, which is the same logic that Simon said, just phrased in a slightly different order. But it is putting together all of these different pieces. So I was really happy with that. Yeah, as Eric says, it was satisfying. I was really happy with sort of figuring out, aha, this is how to resolve the symmetry, even though it does tempt you to start like filling in a billion digits on one side to see exactly what's happening. The ultimate, like, the answer doesn't require that. The answer is much simpler.
Is total and utter nonsense. And that means no nonsense. We go back over here. This is correct. This is correct. And the reason it works is that there is nothing constraining the rest of box 7. You know, we don't have to fill 2, 3, and 5 into that between line. In fact, we can't. Right. But now we can go back to the other thinking, which is we have to populate this line. We know this can't be 5. I think this has to be 4, 6, 7, because it's got to be digits that are higher than 2 or 3, that are not 2, 3, or 5, that are framed by this digit, which is going to be on the high side. So this is the high digit on the between line. This is the low digit. That has to be 8. These squares are 189. One of those is in a circle here, look. Although these are this 189 are very extreme digits, so that this feels like a disambiguating between line to me. What do I mean by disambiguating between line? I mean a line that's been put.
It was to make the alarm clock an alarm clock. I really, really, really tried to make it work so that this would have perfect symmetry with this and just be a between line instead of a 10 line, but it did not work. But I have said this before, but whenever I have a puzzle where the grid kind of looks like something, it's always a matter of like, oh, the puzzle's almost done, and I sort of squint and say, oh, it kind of looks like that, and then I sometimes try and make the last clue make it look like this. So in this case, just from the break-in, I already had these three between lines, these 2 10 lines, this 10 line. So just from that outline already kind of looked to me like an alarm clock. And so then it was, okay, well, maybe I can do like, and I think this one actually came next to be the feet of the alarm clock, but this ultimately ended up being sort of like, okay, how can I make the logic satisfying and also still make it look like an alarm clock? The reason why the Renbon ended up this way, by the way, is that I was trying to make the Renbon do something like, oh, one of them comes down this way, and then one of them is like the minute hand, and one is the hour hand. But that spoiler did not lead to any satisfying logic. So I ended up with these Renbon that don't really fit the theme, but they're Renbon, so no one complains, right?
Put into the puzzle to deal with a late stage disambiguation. I'd be very surprised if that's the next step. I'll probably be proved totally wrong now, but that's just my impression. What are those digits then? 4, 6, and 7. Okay, so that's probably
They're the reflection of the glass,
line,
yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it? Yeah, that digit, by this logic we've been learning, that digit is in one of those squares and is then on that line up there, which is going to be interesting. Okay. I'm not exactly sure. Can we use the 5 thing that we worked out? No. Can I do more down here? I suspect I can. Let's just think.
The black dot, I think, is used surprisingly early.
Actually, I don't know how to do that. What about... Well, maybe it could be this one. That being 4, 6, 7 and getting thrown up here. What does that mean? Now, I don't know the answer to that. Right, okay, here is something simpler then. This between line segment is not the 3 cells.
There we go.
Because
that was the intended next step.
What would we populate it with? We can't use a 1. If this is a 3-cell segment summing to 10, we can't use a 1 on the segment, so it would be 2, 3, 5 again, and that would break this square. So this line breaks in the same way as this line. It's a domino here. Let's go to the line drawing tool. It's a domino there, and then a 3-cell segment there.
I like using the X, but admittedly it doesn't always work. But
well, yes. For the same, we still can't write 2, 3, and 5 in here, can we?
Right, yes.
Because if we do, we've got exactly the same problem down here.
I'm very glad that he saw that was sort of the point here is you still can't make that 2, 3, 5. So you still get to sort of recycle the logic over there.
Again, that's what told us that this configuration is correct. We put 2, 3, 5 there. We've got to put 1 and 9 down here. This has to be a 2, 3, 5, and that's going to break because it needs to be a 2, 3, or a 5 by Sudoku. So this is a 3-cell segment summing to 10 that must include a 1. That's not a 1 in the corner. So this is either 1, 2, 7, 1, 3, 6, or 1, 4, 5. which is very interesting. And this is a domino that adds up to 10. It's either 2, 8, 3, 7 or 4, 6. Many of which get... So if this was 1, 2, 7, this would have to be 4, 6. If this was 1, 3, 6, this would have to be 2, 8. And if this was 1, 4, 5, then actually this would have two options. It could be 2, 8 or 3, 7. Now, do we know what that is? No, well, if I knew a little bit more about this, I would be very much more confident. Can that be 8? I'm just wondering about this 8 here. If that's 8... then this has to be 4. This has to be 5, 6. No, that doesn't. Well, that's complicated, actually, though. That's very complicated. This can't be 8. And that is because I don't think there's a way of making this domino work. Let's just go through that, because that's not that straightforward. Oh, in fact, no, hang on. It's much easier. Sudoku just breaks it if that's 8. Oh, hang on. Hang on. That's the trick, isn't it? Am I just being incredibly dense here? hang on. I don't want to be incredibly dense. I resist that. I don't want to be incredibly dense. Don't be incredibly dense. Don't be incredibly dense. If I put... Oh no, I could put 8 on the line. Well, yeah, I can't put 8 here, because then I have to put 8 on the line by Sudoku. I was thinking I was going to be able to put a 2-8 pair in here, but that's wrong, isn't it?
I think because I could... The way he could say this that would be in line with all of his previous logic is this circle is one of these 3 digits. So you could, maybe slightly horribly, just good lift this cell as 1, 2, 3, 5, 9, and it's not a 1.
Put 8 here, for example, and then 8 on this line if this is a 9, which I hadn't thought about. Bobbins. Okay, but that's definitely not 8, because that would put 8 on the line. The way I actually did that was far more complicated. What I did was, I said if this is 8, this has to be 5, 6, 7, and then there's no domino available for that, because it can't be 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7 or 4, 6. That's unnecessarily complicated. So 8 in this box is a bit restricted. It's not there. It can't be on a 3-cell segment adding up to 10. So it's in one of 3 positions, very possibly in this domino. And if it is there, this is a 9. But if it's there, then there's an 8 here. Oh dear. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm not seeing this at all. I mean, we could do...
He's very close. The way I phrased this in my head is to ask not just where is 8 in row 1, which is what he's asking, but where are 7 and 8 in row 1. And the point is you can't shove both 7 and 8 in the cells that he has highlighted blue, because you would use 2 2s in the box. So the way I would say it is 1 of 7 and 8 is definitely on this line, and that tells you what you need to know.
I mean, it's not going to be like, where is... Yeah. Actually, that's an interesting question. Where's 2 in the first row? 2 can't go on this line anymore, because you can't put 1 in either circle. So 2 is either in the corner or it's in one of those three. Oh, that's no use. It could be a 2-8 pair. 2 in the corner would make these have to add up to 8. 1 7 would work. Okay. So we've got to think again. I'm sorry, this is suddenly not as easy as I was expecting. What about if that's 6? Is that really possible? Because this can't be 1. Wouldn't this have to be 2? Let me think about that. If that's 6, we need 3 digits here that are definitely lower than 6. We can't go 7, 8, 9 and make this a 10. So these have to be 3 digits lower than 6 that allow this to frame it. This has to be 2. This would have to be 3, 4, 5. And that doesn't work. It's the same. It's the sort of same reason that I was getting rid of 8 here. It works the same way. If that's 3, 4, 5, but this time it's not simply ruled out by Sudoku. It works the same way. There's no domino that's valid here. Can't be 2, 8, can't be 1, 9, can't be 3, 7, can't be 4, 6. So actually, this is not 6. We might be able to do better than that. What about if this is 7? If this is 7, then I think this can be 2 or 3. If it's 3, this has to be 4, 5, 6. That would allow 2, 8 to exist, actually. Bother. If it's 2...
Oh, you have to think one more step.
Yeah, this could just skip the digit that was... it could skip a 3 or a 4. And
he has to remember, so the reason why 7 breaks is if this is a 7, then as he says, this is a 2, 8, but this digit's a 7. And the problem is that uses a second 2 in the box here. So thinking about the fact that this digit gets put up here is
allow this domino to exist. Oh, okay. And if that's 4, then this has to be a high digit, which can't be an 8, actually. Or can it be a 9? Oh, it can be a 9. That's what we were working on before. Bother. In fact, yes, that's a good question. Where is 9 in box 3? Can't go on the 3-cell segment, can't go on the 2-cell segment. So 9 is in one of these squares. This is probably what I should have done before. So that could be 9, or that could be 9. If that's 4 and that's 9, these are from 5, 6, 7, and 8. Oh dear, this is not going very well. I don't know. Oh, but hang on. It's going to be right. This digit, which I've got down to being 4 or 7, has to be over here. Oh no. No. No, I say it again, no. That's not helpful at all. I mean, obviously it would be very helpful if we knew where it went. But it could go here or here and be 4 or 7 and make a valid domino. Or here and be 4 or 7 and make a valid triple.
This is a slippery little bugger, this arrangement.
Wow, that's really weird.
Like, I mean, the sort of remarkable thing about this, and this is just like something that just like happens when you set sometimes. No clues have entered the puzzle since the break-in. So the break-in used this clue, this clue, this clue, this clue, this clue, and this clue. And all the things he's doing are still just consequences of the things that were put there for the break-in. So this is just sheer serendipity from a setting point of view. And in fact, when I'm saying, like, how do I recommend people set, a lot of people say sort of like, just add in a clue and see what it does, which I hate. That is never what I advise. I always advise is sort of like identify what question you want to answer and then deliberately put a clue in the grid to answer it and see what it does. So like I always put a clue in the grid knowing the deduction that it's going to give me, but then I see if it also gives me other things. And so like very often like the good clues in Sudoku puzzles are the ones where it does the thing, but then it also does this other thing and this other thing and this other thing, and then you sort of get to sort of get back to sort of equilibrium. In this puzzle, you can sort of see basically the thing that's going to sort of fall out of the world is like almost everything is going to sort of fall out just from the clues that were part of the break-in. Thank you, Tell the Truth. Welcome, by the way.
Okay, but I tell you what we could do. We could reverse the logic, because that digit has to appear in one of those squares, doesn't it? That's a good idea. Yeah, that'll be it. Right, this digit, again, it can't go on its own between line. It is in one of those squares. Now, this digit is not able to actually, so it's in one of these by Sudoku, but it's not able to be 1 because we've put a 1 over here. It might be able to be 9, but if it's not 9, it's 2, 3, or 5. Now, what it isn't is 5. That's far too close to this to have a set 3 digits between those values. So is 3 difficult? If this is, I think 3 worked when we did it before. If this is 3, oh, no, actually, I've changed my mind. It's not 2. This is weird. It's not 2 for a really beautiful reason. I have to tell you this because I've just noticed it and I think it's beautiful. If this is 2, what we are doing in this box is eliminating the possibility of a 2-8 pair here. And that puts the 8 here. And what we learned earlier is if we put the 8 there, we have to put 8 on the between line, and this needs to be a 9. Well, it cannot simultaneously be 2 and 9, so that is just not able to be 2. Isn't that gorgeous? So I only have to get rid of 3 or 9.
He's noticing, he's sort of putting together the pieces here of that what's really happening is that it's hard to put high digits in row 1. And if you don't choose to make this digit a 9, it is impossible to put high digits in row 1.
If it's a 3 here, it will go in the corner. And what would that mean? I don't know. If it's a 9, then there'd be a 9 here.
He's really... He's really, I think, gotten thrown off of his game here because this happens to all of us as solvers. He has intuitioned that the thing he's trying to prove is that this cell isn't 9, which is a problem because the cell is 9. And so, like, I do this all the time of, like, becoming, like, somehow just your intuition just tells you, like, okay, the thing I'm trying to disprove is this. And unfortunately, in this instance, the thing he's trying to disprove is the thing that actually happens.
So I suspect one of these options will put too much pressure on this. Let's try 3. I'm so sorry. I've just had a big interruption there. One corollary of me starting the video late is that other things in my life have the potential to interrupt the video, and that is what has just happened for about, at least half an hour. So I've just sat down again. I have totally, this is my worst nightmare as well, because I will just talk about this for a moment. I think because I'm sure Mark feels the same way. We do so many puzzles, but you almost train your brain to forget a puzzle. Once you walk away from it, you're moving on to the next puzzle. So, you're, especially when we used to speed solve in competition, the idea would be bonkers to retain any information from a prior puzzle when solving the one you were on. So you sort of train your brain to just let everything go. And when I step away from a puzzle,
I think that's actually how I thought about it. Garion points out that the way Garion sees my deduction of you can't put 7 and 8 up here. So I sort of outlined a way that used the knowing what the ways to sum to 10 are. But Garion outlined a way of if you have a 7 and 8 up here, these 5 cells sum to 20. So the other 3 cells therefore sum to 5, and you can't have 3 cells summing to 5. Which is, I think, how I first thought about it when I was thinking about
and
this.
then come back to it. It's a bit like I've lost some of that some of that neural network I've created in the meantime, and I really find it very difficult. But anyway, I will let me just spend a moment or two rethinking what was I doing. I've got rid of a 2 there. Now I do remember why I did that. That was the beautiful logic about the 8, wasn't it? So that's why I got rid of that. But how much investigation had I done into the other digits here?
It's easier to spot if you know what you're trying to spot. I mean, that's definitely true.
I've got.
Like I said, I think this puzzle is pretty hard for my.
I know I knew all this.
My general standards.
Why was that? Why was see? I couldn't even remember that. I was thinking, why was that not 2, 3, 5? And I was forgetting that was all to do with down here. But I've remembered it now. So this wasn't 2, 3, 5. Therefore, it has to have a 1 on it. The 1 has to be here. So this is either 1, 4, 5, 1, 2, 7, or 1, 3, 6. All of those have different effects on this, which is a 10 domino, but it's not 1, 9. It's got lots of other options.
If you're listening, Tristan, can you get me a glass of tea? Thank you, love.
This had to have a 5 on it, but we don't know where. And what else? We can presumably...
Thank you.
Well, what can we do? Maybe we're meant to look at this line. Whereas I haven't done any colouring on this line. Let's think about that. So that digit definitely goes in one of those 3 squares. Definitely goes in one of those 3 squares. So this digit is from the possible digits in a 3-cell 10 sum, which don't include 8 and 9. So this digit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. I am not pencil marking it. And that digit looks very much like it wants to be 9, doesn't it? That has all. If that was 9, that would be 3. That would be 7. This would be, if very forcing actually, if that's 9. 3, 7, that has to be 4, 5, and 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. This would have to be 2, 8. 3, 2, 8.
Oh, I do this too, where I'm trying to like hold all of these things in my head at once.
This segment would have to be 1, 4, 5. That doesn't work. Okay, that's very complicated, but it doesn't work. Can I find an easier way of explaining that? Maybe. So I started that by saying if that's 9. But actually we can start later in the process than that. That can't be 3, is what I just worked out. Because if that is 3, this square is impossible to fill now. So how can we see that more cleanly? If this is 3, we do get a 3 in the corner, don't we, by red logic. But the problem arises. Yeah, you can see it. It's tricky, but you can see it. The simple. Let's go through it. The simple point is, if that's 3, this is obviously 7, and this is forced to be 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to have a 3 in the corner here, and the only option left for this is 2 and 8. And you can see that. So yeah. So that we can stop there. Well, so the point is that the way that the digits sort of bounce back and forwards because of the sort of weird between line Sudoku logic is then a problem, because once this is 7, remember, 7 has to be in one of these squares. But once this is 3, and we've got the 3 in the other corner as a result of the red logic, the 7 can't be in the domino that adds up to 10. The 7 has to go in the corner with a 1-2 pair. And that means this has only got the option of being 4 and 6, and that's most certainly not possible. Yeah, I quite like that, actually. I quite like that. So what we're saying is, it's causing this to be 3 and this to be 7, sends the 3 and the 7 away from each other. In terms of row 1, it throws the 7 over here, but not into the domino, because it can't go into the domino because its friend the 3 that it needs to add up to 10 goes over here. And once that becomes 7, 1, 2, you end up with 4, 6 here, and that makes this between line impossible to fill. I like that. That's very clever.
Yeah, I think he's making this one step more complicated because he's focused on the fact that 8 can go in these 3 places in box 3. Rather than thinking about where 8 can go in box 1, in row 1. And so I think if he said, I think he would see that he'd be able to explain this slightly more concisely if he said, if this is 3, where does 8 go in row 1 and where does 7 go in row 1? And then he could use either my articulation or Garian's to say, yeah, that's the problem.
Now, what does that mean? If that's not 3, it's 9 then. I will trust my logic that got me to that before. So this is now not 7, that's 4. So this is now made up of basically quite high digits, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Well, this is not 6, 7, and 8, because that would have no possible domino fill. It wouldn't be. If this was 6, 7, 8, this would have to be, well, it couldn't be anything. It couldn't be 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, or 4, 6. So there is definitely a 5 here, which means that is definitely not a 5. Now, this is... yeah, okay, so there is a sort of floating 6, 7, 8 triple in row 1. What do I mean by floating? It means I don't know quite where it goes, but I know there must be a high digit in this domino that's either 8, 7, or 6.
Well, I like floating triple.
The two
virtual triple.
digits that it's not from 8, 7, and 6 are going to be on this between line. So between these 5 cells, we use up 6, 7, and 8 in the row. And we use up 1 and 9. So 2, 3, and 4 is the digit that sits in the corner. Now, we know there's a 1 on the line as well. So if this is 2, this is 1, 7. If this is 3, this is 1, 6. If this is 4, this is 1, 5. 2, 1, 7 forces this to be 4, 6. That nearly breaks. 3, 1, 6 forces this to be 3, 1, 6 forces that to be 2, 8. That doesn't work, actually. Okay, that's not 3. Because if that was 3, that's 2. And because this has to be 3, 1, 6 to add up to 10, there's no option here. Because the 2, 8 is ruled out by the 2 in the other corner. So all we've got to do now is get rid of 4 here. And we know this is a 2, and that will be huge. So how do we get rid of 4? If this is 4, this is 1, 5. Therefore, this is not 4, 6. So the 6 is over here. This could be either 2, 8 or 3, 7. Oh no, that's going to work. All right, but this is restricted now. If this is 2, this is 1, 7. And if this is 4, this is 1, 5. So there's very few options now. Right, and now that digit has to be one of those squares. So that is from 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. That's not very good, is it?
I love how every puzzle that Simon solves of mine, I get him to about 45 minutes in, I get him to start pencil marking 5 digits in one cell.
Although, maybe, well, if that's 1, that's 2, 3, 5 again, isn't it? Which got us into a terrible pickle before. If that's 2, 3, 5, 3 has to go on the between line, which, I know that's fine if this is 1, because that just has to be a high digit. 9 in column 9 is down there. That's certainly true. Okay, and so is 8, because I can't put 8 on the between line because I'd need to put 9 in one of the circles, and I can't put 9 in this circle
There we
anymore,
go.
and that circle can't be 9 for many reasons. So, if this was... Or what about that? What about that one? Oh, that's the other digit. Oh, that's interesting. Let's just quickly highlight that. That digit is in one of those 3 squares and lives with its friends, the 8 and the 9, down here. So it's not 8 or 9 by Sudoku, but by other Sudoku to do with the between line, it lives down here. So actually, I don't know. So I'm not sure what that means. Okay, so
I
what
think
we
now the
could
point
do
is to look at the pressure on
is...
this line. Although I admit we're now far enough in the puzzle that my recollection is a lot fuzzier because I spent a lot longer on the beginning of the puzzle than the end. But I think the point now is that now I have a between line that doesn't have 8 or 9 on it.
This is 145 or 127. If that's 5, that forces this between line to be totally extreme, which it can't be. Yeah, that can't be 5, because then there would have to be 3 digits, which would either be 2, 3, or 4, framed by a 1 here, which is... I'm not allowed to put 1 or 9 in this square. And if this is 5, this could be 6, 7, 8. That would be 9. That doesn't work. It might be difficult for this to be 4, actually. If this is 4... we've got to go up then to this digit. No, that can't work. That cannot work. Yeah, if this is 4, we can't go down because 3, 2, 1 would take us to 0 here. So we have to go up. Now, if we fill it with the minimum we could, which would be 5, 6, 7, this would still need to be an 8 or a 9, which it's not allowed to be. So this digit is coming right down in the panoply of digits it can be. Now, the problem is 7 was the next one we might want to try and get rid of, although that's not going to be under as much pressure. If that's 7, we have to go down. So we're looking at these digits being from, well, actually this can't be a 1, so this is at least a 2. So this has got a minimum of 3 on it. So if that's 7, these digits would be from 3, 4, 5, and 6. But we have to be a bit... No, we don't, actually. So if that's 7... No, actually, I'm not sure. I think that's okay if that's 7. I think 1 is going to be absolutely fine here, because then this can be anything, really. 7 or 6. There's so much room, and if it's 2... well, it would make this... if this is 2, this becomes 1, 2, 7. Yeah, sorry. I think what I'm being slow here, but I think what I need to do is actually think quite hard, and perhaps a bit harder than I just did. If that's 7, because this becomes 1, 2, 7. If that doesn't, no, it just doesn't get rid of... well, it means that's at least 3, doesn't it? So this would have to be 4, 5. That is interesting. So if that's 7, because that becomes 1, 2, 7, because 7 has to go in one of those 3 squares by Sudoku. Now this can't be 2, so the minimum value of this is then 3, which means that that has to be 4, 5, and 6. So 1, 2, 7, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 7, 3, 8, 9. That's probably fine. Ah, you rotten old thing. You rotten thing. Goodness me. Sorry, I thought I might be able to disprove it by considering that. Alright, if this is 2, then that is still 1, 2, 7. So this has got a maximum value of 6 then. So this is 3, 4, 5. So then we're in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, thank you, David. David gave us $10 for early Thanksgiving present. Let's get you a donation dance. Thank you, David. Boop 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 boop. Woohoo! Boop 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 boop. Woohoo! Boop boop. Thank you, David. Thank you, Zach.
4, 5. This is 6, 8, 9 then. Oh, sorry, I'm going round in circles here, aren't I? There's so many options. So what that's teaching me, because what we have to remember with zetamath is you're dealing with a very clever chap, basically. So it's not going to be exhaustive case testing. My phone's buzzing now. I don't need that. It's going to be something much more straightforward. Well, not straightforward. It might be difficult, but it's going to be elegant. And case testing is not what I associate Zeta with, so I'm not doing that. I'm going to find something else. Let's try something different. Is it, if that's 1, that's 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. I think it might be something to do with this silly line down here again. I don't think it's to do with this one, is it? Oh, no, actually it might be. 8 and 9 aren't available options for the circles. Ooh. Ooh. So the maximum value of one of these circles is a 7, which means that the digits on the line can be no higher than 6. So the digits on the line from 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, that's really interesting. Don't have a go about my social graces. It's really interesting to me. If I could get rid of 1 from the, I can see this one can't be a 1. So if there's some reason that can't be a 1, I mean, if that's 1, that is 7. Because if this is 1, that's 2, 3, 5, and that is 7. But we worked out that could work, didn't we? I think this... Oh, hang on, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but for a very convoluted reason. To do with what we were just working out. Because what we worked out is that when this is 7, you have to put 3, 8, 9 at the bottom. But if I make that 1, that's 2, 3, 5, and I can't do that. But the way I got to the fact that this was 3, 8, 9 was quite difficult. You know, I had to sort of trace it through with 7 being up here, this being 1, 2, 7. So this having to be 3, this having to be 4, 5, 6, and that being 3, 8, 9. I mean, it does break, but that feels difficult to me. I don't think that's what Zeta would have had in mind. Not sure, but I don't think it would be. And see, if I now knowing that neither of these is 1, what does that do? It gets rid of 2 on the line. So this would be from 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's the other thing about the zetamaths puzzles, is that you get a reward normally. When you get a deduction, you get a reward. And that's not a big reward. Eliminating 2 as one of the options from here doesn't feel like it's the reward that we would be expected, or we would be expecting to get from quite a complicated deduction. Let's try something else. Let's try... Where? No, that doesn't work. Let's not try that. Let's try... Oh dear. I don't know. Well... No. Okay, I've got something much simpler. Much simpler. 8 and 9 are there. 8 and 9 are there. Where are 8 and 9 in that row? They can't be in their own boxes. And they're not on the between line. There we go. That's right, isn't it? I don't see why that's wrong. Yeah. So these are actually 8 and 8, 9 pair. Don't know if that matters very much, but it is, at least that is definitely, that is a completely vanilla step, if you like, compared to what we have been doing. So now, now I'm going to eliminate 1 from there.
Yes.
Because where's
there
1 in this row? It's not
Gotcha.
here because the 1 is in one of those 2 squares. It's not on its own line, so 1 is in one of those. It's probably on the
Beautiful.
3-cell thingy line, but it's not there anymore. So now that's done it. That's done it. Because now the digit here that gets transposed up here is a 2 or a 7. So this must be a 1, 2, 7 triple. How did we get rid of... Oh, we got rid of 4 and 5 because we couldn't fill the line, didn't we? That's how we did that. So that's totally fine. Right, that's much more elegant. So this is 2 or 7. Gets transposed onto a 3-cell 10-sum that has a 1 on it. So this is 1, 2, 7. And I know where things go on this. That's 2. This is huge, actually, because that being 2... this is huge, because 1, 2, 7 means that's got to be 4, 6. It's the only 10 method available, so that's 8. Now, what's that doing? Oh, it's getting rid of 6. Oh, there you go. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing
Row
its
1,
religion.
column
Oops.
1 even.
So, what are those squares? 3, 5. So 5 goes here, 2 goes here. Does this just stop now? Maybe. It won't stop. I think this will do things. In fact, there's no way that can be 5 now, is there? Because we worked out if this was 5, you have to have an extreme between line, and that can't be 1 or 9. So that's got to be 3. That's got to be 5. 3 can't go next to 2 on the between line, so that's 7. This is 4, 5, 6. This is 3, 8, 9. So this is the version of the world that we thought about. Now, if that's true...
Yeah, the intuition definitely got Simon a couple times here.
If that's true and the 1 wasn't on this line, this 3-cell line, there would be no fill for this. Because if it doesn't have 1 on it, it must be 2, 3, 5, and it couldn't be. So it does have 1 on it. It's now not 1, 3, 6 or 1, 2, 7, so it's 1, 4, 5. And I know the order. Ah, here we go. Here we go. 4 and 6 go into the grid up there. 6 and 2 have to be put in this box. So I get a 2. I get a 2 on this thingy line. Now that's not 6. So in fact, none of them are 6. Why do I focus on the one on the black dot? That can't be 5, actually. That's 3 or 4. So it either goes up to a 6, down to a 2, or up to an 8. 2, 6, or 8. Definitely even. Now, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, 8, 9 pair. So these squares are a 2, 7 pair, I think. Well, that's quite good. Because now that seems to have to be a 3 on this. Oh, that doesn't help us, does it? Because this wasn't affected. Whether this was 2 or 3 made no difference to this line. So, where are we then? We've got to put 5 into this box. We can do it. This is a 4, 6 pair. I can do that. This is 6, this is 7.
10 lines
is
between
7,
lines, Renbon and black dots.
There's all sorts of Sudokuage going on now, which is an outrage, let me tell you. This is 7, this is 2. 2, 4 must go up, mustn't it, to make the between line work. So this is now 1. That's not a 3.
I do love how the Renbon managed to be completely useless until this point. But now he can go back to the very first thing he wanted to use about where the 5 is on the length 5 Renbon.
That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight. Losing its religion. 2 3s.
No wonder
in
the
corner.
testers approved this puzzle.
We haven't had many recently, so that's quite a surprise. Now. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Right. Now, let's go back to the logic right at the start of the puzzle. First thing I said, you've got to put 5 on a 5-cell Renban line. Where is the 5 on this 5-cell Renban line, given both of these between lines have 5 on them? There. So that's not 5, so this is 5, which means that's 5. How many 5s have we got in the grid? Quite a number. Not actually all of them, though. Not all of... Oh, that's in... right. But this line suddenly becomes interesting, doesn't it? Because now its ability to be it can't have a 5 on it, I don't think. This 5 is beautiful because it sees that square. This 5 sees that square, and this 5 sees that square. So if there's no 5 on a 4-cell Renban, what do we know about the nature of it? It is an extreme Renban. It is either 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's 6, 7.
Yes, I think the black dot was put here specifically to rule 5 off of the last cell of this Renban that could be 5. I think that was the motivation behind putting it
8,
there.
9. Now,
like, I think they were put in together
if
so
it was
that would be
6,
true.
7, 8, 9, that would be very interesting, because this would have to be 8 here, 9 here, 6 here, 7 here. That would be forced. But if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, that would have to be 2. This would be a 1, 3, 4 triple. The 4 would have to go here. So this is 4 or 7 by the logic we just did. 3 would go here. And 1 would go there. I don't actually know which of these I think is more likely. So 8, 9. This can never be 8, can it? So this is 2 or 6. That doesn't resolve this. Okay. Alright, maybe more Sudoku. If in doubt, we'll risk doing some Sudoku. 4, 6, 9. Oh. That's a very low digit to be on this Renban. You can't have 9 on it. If it's got 1, 2 or 3 on it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the maximum digit on this Renban. What are those digits from? 3, 7, 8. What did I just say? The maximum digit was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it can't be 8 there. And these digits are 1, 2, 9. Well, we just said we can't put 9 on it. So now it's got a 1 or a 2 here. So now the minimum value is the maximum value on this Renban is 6, isn't it? Which is going to give us... Oh, this is going to give us a 1, 2, 3 triple on the Renban. That's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can see it as there's only 1, 4, 6 on the Renban once you look by Sudoku at where the 4, 5, 6 here was the motivation for putting a Renban in the box, because Renbans really like having 4, 5, 6s on them.
Beautiful. I don't know how you spotted this when you were creating this puzzle, zetamath, but that's really lovely. Yeah, because this is 1 or 2. You can't put 7 on the Renban. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the maximum. So this is a 3, but now you can't repeat the 3 on the Renban, which gives us a 1, 2 pair, which means 1 is on the Renban, which means the Renban is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's got to be the 4. And this dot comes into play. 3 and 6. That fixes the other Renban as a high Renban, which we can now fit. This is gorgeous. Good grief. Good grief. 1, 3. This is a 1, 3 pair. These are digits from 5 and 2, I think. Can we do that? Possibly not. That's a 4 by Sudoku. There's a 4 in one of those squares. That's a 3 by Sudoku in this box up here. There's a 3 here now. That's 3, that's 4, that's 3, that's 1. Lovely. It is a very, very clever, this. Right, that's not 4. Can we do something with 5s, maybe? That's not 4. 3s can come out of those squares. 7 and 8 are resolved, look. 8 goes there, that's good. That's a win for the goodies. That's 7.
Win for the goodies.
4, 6 are a pair here. This has got to be a 2 then, hasn't it? So that's 2, that's 1, that's 9. Along the Renban, that's 2, that's 1. 1 has only one place. 1 goes in there. It looks like it's starting to be kind to us at last. I've got
At
7 eights.
long
I mean, there's a
last.
7 down here. This is 8 or 9. That's not 8. What do we need here? 2, 6, 9. Yeah, we can do the 6 at least. Yeah, that's good. So 6, 4, 4, 5, 6, 5, 2, 2, 9, 7. That should be resolved. Yeah, 7, 8. I was thinking it didn't look deadly. Ah, whoopsie. 8,
Can't put
9,
a 0 on that
9,
between
8,
lines.
9,
Not with a
8,
2 and a 6 on the ends.
9, 6. What a clever puzzle. Good grief. That was incredibly... It was very interesting. I mean, the break-in was beautiful. I love this idea down here, sort of telling us which way round the 2, 3, 5s go.
I'm very glad he
Then,
appreciated that. I think
yeah,
how much someone liked this puzzle was very much proportional to the extent to which they appreciated that. Uh, Definitely, I know some people solved the puzzle by just filling in a bunch of digits until it broke and then being like, oh, I guess it has to go on this side then, rather than by
then
sort of
what did we do
identifying
next? We thought
the neat
about
thing.
this, didn't we? And we could work out how this worked. But yeah, and then there was I love the fact that you could restrict, well, firstly, that you could restrict that digit to being up there, and then eventually force it to be from the 217 triple. And that just broke the puzzle open. There was some very nice stuff with the REM bands towards the end. Have I got it right? Yes. That's just wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, goodness, it's a year old, this puzzle. It's a year old. What am I doing? What am I doing not doing this for a year? Anyway, I've made my way through. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments how you got on with the puzzle. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And hopefully we'll see you for some streaming in a moment or two's time. Yeah, there'll be more Sudoku later. Bye for now.
Well, great to be on Cracking the Cryptic again. I suppose we can listen to Brennan's music. I know Brennan is always sad when I pause it right when we get to the music. Uh, but but that was very so sorry I got quiet at the end but by the time we got to like the very end of the puzzle I was like, I don't remember this part. I remembered, like, once Simon saw it, I remembered the hidden 8-9 pair sorting out row 8, sorting out the entire rest of the puzzle, but I had completely forgotten it, so I was just staring at the grid trying to find the thing. But that was a very good solve. Again, very much, as Simon so often does, very much following my usual, or following my intended path. So I appreciated that. But thank you everyone for hanging out. Greatly appreciated. Always wonderful to see either Simon or Mark solve one of your puzzles, as I'm sure many in chat know, having had the experience. Uh, but I'll be back to streaming again on Sunday, so you can look forward to that if you have done that. And if you're new around here, welcome, by the way. I've seen some new names around, so by all means. So I think that's all for now. So I suppose I should say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.